Thank you, Harry. Uh, this is not every often that you get a chance to introduce a Nobel laureate. So this is my 15 minutes of fame. But don't worry, I know you came here to listen to Dr. Mathur and not to me. And Harry already took some minutes to introduce me, so I'll keep this short. As you know, Dr. Mathur got his Nobel Prize for developing an instrument that flew on a space telescope called COBE, and it detected small changes of temperature at different wavelengths while looking out towards space. So by analyzing that data, they were able to get a better understanding of how the galaxies were formed and the universe was created and evolved over the ages. That brought him the Nobel Prize. What I found remarkable was that the instrument was built in-house at Goddard instead of being given to industry like NASA normally does. So I asked Dr. Mathur to give me some background information of what made him so interested in science and also what made him so interested in building things. And he told me when he was born in Virginia, but when he was a year and a half old, the family moved to a rural part of New Jersey where his father had was a research scientist at the Agriculture Experiment Station. They lived near a farm which had more cows and bulls than people, and at night the skies were very clear. They could see the moon and the stars and the meteors, and that made him brought him some interest in astronomy. But when he was 8 years old, he went to see the Haddam Planetarium in New York City, and he was hooked on astronomy then. When he was in grade school, he saved some pocket money and bought a heat kit and built a radio, learned how to build things. When he was in high school, he again saved some allowance and bought the parts and built a 4-inch telescope, which was quite an achievement for a high school kid. Well, later on he went to college in Swarthmore, was going to graduate school. He applied to Princeton, was accepted, but before starting there, he got a summer job in Berkeley. So when he was there, he fell in love with that place and he decided to stay there. He did his doctorate and postdoc work. This idea of the instrument to measure those temperature differences came to him while there. In 1976, he came to Goddard. The idea was still in the background, in the back of his mind, percolating there or incubating there. And so once he got a chance to propose that experiment on the COBE telescope, it was approved and he went with it. The rest is history. He got his prize. When he got his prize, he tells me that a lot of people are asking him for information, and he wrote up an autobiography which is available on the internet, 8 or 10 pages long, very interesting. I'll mention a couple of things from there and then finish my talk. One of them was that he says a lot of people were asking him for autographs, and he very willingly signed them. What he found later on was that they were being sold for $20 each or $25 each. What shocked him more was that a sports coach, Chuck Mathur, his autographs are selling for $40 or $45. So that tells you what our society puts values on, science or sports. The second thing that was interesting was that he says when he was accepted in Princeton but decided to stay in Berkeley, and tongue-in-cheek he wrote a letter to Princeton saying, I'm withdrawing my application because you don't have any women in campus. Princeton was not co-ed. That gives me an idea, John, and here is the idea. You got a Nobel Prize in cosmology. You might get a second Nobel Prize in cosmetology, a new field. Here is the scenario. You think of a pretty woman standing here, a young man standing here on the left, and he's looking at her admiringly. Then she puts on some cosmetics, and suddenly his blood temperature goes up, and his brainwaves go all wobbly. And so if you can develop an instrument that can relate these temperature differences and to the human psychology and caused by this cosmetic change, then you might be able to get another Nobel Prize. And when you do, please remember who came up with the original idea. With that, I have great pleasure in introducing to you the speaker for this evening, Dr. John Mather. Okay? Thank you.